Alright, welcome back to Meteorology 101. This is the Subaru Forester 2000 weather chase vehicle, and we are going to put a little bit of a lift kit on here to get some ground clearance in case we got storm chasing, run across some debris in the road. We can get over it. So we wanted a 3-inch lift. Quite a bit of stuff we got to do to this thing. So this will be like the first part of the video. Basically, the only thing I've done on this side, I got one strut on the other side on the rear. I'm waiting on the front struts to show up. I got the 3-inch spacer on the left side, fitted everything, and I do got to make some spacers for the subframe, and I'm working on the right side. The only thing I've done on the right side so far is pull the wheel off. So I'm going to basically cut this clip off. There's a brake line. Being a 2000, this is pretty rusty. Got the brake hose. With the brake hose and the line connect, it goes through the strut. So I'm going to cut this out, just notch it out, and then I'll replace those clips so I can get this brake line out without breaking into the brake system. If I break into this brake system, I'll have to bleed the brakes, and then take a chance of breaking this brake line or this hose. So damaging the hose, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to just notch this thing, and when I put it back together on the new strut, then I can put new clips in and I won't have to worry about it falling off. This one, actually, somebody's already been in here. They've taken the clip out, so it doesn't even have a clip. So the only thing holding this is because it goes through that hole on the strut, and somebody, for some reason, they took the clip off, or it broke off where it rotted out, whatever. Car's in pretty good shape. It does have some surface rust on the bottom. I did neutralize that rust and undercoated the whole thing. So I will undercoat this wheel well, and then part of that subframe where I missed during that undercoat job, and then undercoat up in those shock towers. So right now all I'm going to do is take a cut off wheel, and I am going to just notch this brake where that brake line is. Got to avoid cutting the brake line. I do need a little bit more air pressure. I'm not going to worry about that too much right now because it's almost through, and I'm not going to waste a lot of time running over there to adjust the regulator. So I just got to get that chunk of metal out. I know this is a weather channel, but this is a weather chase vehicle, and I will probably post this on the Subaru forum. So people are pretty big in the lift kits on the Subarus. Plus, this is my chase vehicle, so I am going to post this on my weather channel. Okay, so now I got the brake hose out of the strut. Now I'm going to take these 2 bolts out at the bottom of the strut, and then I just have the 3 nuts on the top of the strut tower, and then the whole strut assembly will come out of there. Alright, let's see. Alright, here's the bolts for the strut. Try to break this nut loose with a wrench. It's going to help me out with having to spin that whole nut, the whole bolt through the strut. It's a little tight. I actually put this bolt up against the axle boot. I think it's pretty tight, so I'm gonna have to crank up the air pressure. Alright, so we're gonna break this loose now. Shorter socket. I'm using a wheel tool. Alright, here's a straight socket without the extension. This is going to make a few people happy using a chrome socket on an impact, but it'll survive. Alright, so with a straight socket, no extension, you get a lot more torque, and you can break bolts loose like that. So I'm going to use a punch. I'm going to knock these bolts out. Alright. Now the only thing we got, 3 nuts hanging from the top. So let's go up there. Alright. Get you adjusted. Alright, so got this plastic cover. There's gonna be the outer side's kind of come up, and then you gotta pull out on it straight out and you can break any clips. So there we go. Now we got 3 12mm. Get the impact. Get a 3/8 impact and a 12mm socket. Arrows. Alright, one. Alright, there's all 3 nuts. A metal plate over that strut. Now the strut will come out pretty much as a whole assembly. Alright, try to keep from get a better view here. Alright. Now we just gotta watch this ABS sensor. Got the brake line loose. Now actually one more thing I'm gonna take off. Get over here real quick. Make this a little easier on us. Is that link right there. We're gonna take that link off. That's gonna allow this wheel to push down further. Now, all right. All right, once again, chrome socket. I don't care. This is Harbor Freight tools. Harbor Freight tools, they're holding up pretty good for this. I mean, honestly, on a impact on a chrome socket, you got less of a chance of breaking it than you do with a breaker bar or a ratchet, long ratchet. All right. Now this is pretty stout. Here we go. Get this loose. See if we can twist that out. Alright, there we go. Now, the bolt is kind of froze up in that sleeve. It is a 21-year-old car, those. Alright, well, my video stopped at some point, so here's the strut out of the car. What I ended up doing last was taking the link off, disconnecting this link from the sway bar. So that would allow this drum to move a lot more freely, so I can get the new strut in with the lift spacer. Alright, so I'm going to stop this video right here so we can I'll have to do some editing pieces together, and then we'll get back when we start doing the assembly. Okay, this is the new strut. I got a strut compressor. One thing I've noticed when I did the left side is that this stud faces out and pretty much lines up right with that mount, where that mounts to the knuckle. So here, there's some shadows. Don't have any focus. Let me get some, see if I can focus this thing. Alright, so we can see that where those bolts came out, where that, on the bottom where that mounts to that knuckle in that car. If you look at this, right here, straight up is where that stud lines up. We get to where you need to see it, and right there. That stud lines up with the bottom. So let's take a shot straight down. You can see where that bolts to the knuckle, right there. And then comes up, straight up, and lines right up with that stud. So I'll be right back. I'm going to go grab the spacer. Alright, I'm back. Let's see. Now this only goes on one way. These this triangle is offset, so it will only go on one way on that strut. Alright, so one other thing I don't like, there's a rubber piece in here that is a seal for where that strut goes up and seals that strut tower. Since I'm putting these spacers on, I don't really care about that, and I don't want anything interfering with the lift height of this car, so I'm going to peel that off. It's only glued in a few places. Now, clean this one spot off. Alright, so you may not like that. You may agree, disagree, really don't care. But when I put that on there, I want that to be as flush as it can be to that spacer plate. So now I'm going to take some silicone, just a thin coat, just black RTV, spread around this. So when I put that spacer on, it does seal between it. Plus, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to undercoat that wheel well. Inside that wheel well, and I am going to that is going to seal a lot of that anyway, where that spacer hits the shock tower. So let's see, got one more spot right here. All right. Okay, so put the spacer on. Like I said, that's going to seal that. Grab some nuts. Alright, of course they're inside. Alright, we're going to pack these on. Alright, I got lock nuts. They don't have to be super tight. It's only a like 8mm bolt, so they only hold so much torque anyway. You don't have to stir and crank on them so tight that you take a chance of breaking them or stripping them out. So if we look at this now, we see where the bolt is. That's the bolt for the strut. Now our new bolt, or new stud that goes through the shock tower, is offset, you know, almost an inch. I mean, that's a pretty big difference right there. So the problem we run into when we line up the strut at the bottom with the knuckle is now we got to twist this thing. So we throw it up into the shock tower, and then we're going to have to twist this to the right and try to get that to line up. Now doing that is not the easiest thing in the world. So, and plus you're putting all that pressure on this rubber spacer, this rubber bushing right here. When you start twisting that spring, these rear wheels don't turn. So when you start turning them, now you're just putting all this pressure on that rubber spacer, that bushing, and you're just going to be digging into it and just wearing it out prematurely. So one thing, all these videos, everybody puts these lift kits on these Subarus, nobody mentions that whatsoever. So we are going to compress this spring, and we don't even have to take the nut loose. We can just twist this to the right or to the left. That's got to be turned to the right. So we turn this clockwise and bring this over here. And then we know we're lined back up to where we originally started. Alright, so this is like a $30, $40 strut compressor from Harbor Freight. I've used it many, many times, and this thing works great. So anybody that wants to knock a lot of the Chinese stuff, I know it's Chinese, most of it's crap, but you know, this thing does work pretty good for what it is. I got a lot of stuff froze up. It's been in storage for a while. I haven't done the mechanic thing in several years, so use it for my benefit now. And since I'm doing the Subaru, this little bit of a Subaru build, put some bigger tires on. Now the only thing with this, you gotta watch, these things will start jumping kind of sideways, so there's a lot of pressure you're dealing with. Since I'm not taking the nut off, I don't have to worry about it exploding in my face. I just want this thing kind of loose enough to where I can turn this right there. Now, we did pop out right here. And this, the good thing with the top one is it's smooth all the way across. There's not a notch that this spring, the coil, end of the coil sits in. So we can put it anywhere we want. Now, what we will have to do is pull this back. Not the easiest thing to do, but we got to get this bushing sitting back down inside the coil spring. So I think we achieved that. So now we can let the pressure off of it. No danger at all. We're not, like I said, we didn't take the nut off, so we don't have to worry about any danger of this thing blowing up on us. Now, let me get this lowered. Okay, so now we can see, line this up. There's our stud. Right there at the top. You see where to the left of that is where the old one was. Now the new one is there. And if we come straight down, now we're lining up with that strut. Now we're not right there where it connects to the knuckles. So now we don't have to sit there and fight with this thing and try to twist this whole thing to keep it from to get it lined up. So at the bottom, make sure you can see it. One thing you gotta watch if you're compressing these springs too. This coil does end in a notch. The bottom part of that coil where it ends sits in that notch. That has to stay there. That cannot move. The top, since it's smooth all the way around, since that top is smooth all the way around, now we can move that top plate pretty. Alright, so when we put this on, we are going to be changing the camber and the caster just a little bit. So the reason I'm turning this, I mean, we are going to be thrown off a little bit on the alignment from turning that. Not much. We're only moving about an inch. So this is kind of offset, but I'm just trying to keep from damaging that bushing. And then, you know, when we put this on, it's going to make it much easier. I don't have to twist the bottom of that strut, try to twist that spring and get it lined up with the bolt hole. So this is going to go on a heck of a lot easier. So we do have to get aligned anyway. I'm going to put a spacer in the trailing arm, and that's going to bring my wheel back to the center of the wheel well. And I do, being the 3-inch lift, I do have to drop the subframe at least an inch to bring my axles back within spec, so I'm not destroying axle boots and bushings, axle and CV joints. So, all right, I'm going to stop this one right here and get back out there, and we're going to try to get this installed. Alright, here's the new strut with the spacer out here. So I'm going to attempt, I'm going to watch this ABS sensor. We're going to attempt to get this up in there. This is kind of a pain in the ass by yourself. Actually, before I get started on this, I am going to wipe this down. Rust started on the quarter right there. I need to get that taken care of before it gets out of control. So, a little bit of dirt, nothing major up in there. A little bit of rust on this car. So it's 21 years old. Alright, let me grab a can of undercoating. Throw this rubber flat back over the hole. Keep the undercoating out of the car. This looks like a pretty simple subframe drop. I may have to work on some spacers for the sway bar links, or get some longer sway bar links. But this thing is pretty well fusible. What's in that subframe that drops out of there? Most of that white stuff, if you can see it, I doubt you can, but is rust treatment. I have undercoated this whole car. sure I get up in that strut tower. Alright. Make sure we're still recording. Good. I know you guys probably don't have the greatest view. Let's see what we got here. Come on. Alright, so. Alright, I'm gonna light. Alright. So we'll undercoat that wheel well really good, so any water, rust, anything, any rust, any water, debris, anything like that gets in there, I want to be able to let it to just run out. There we go. Now, here's the fun part. Doing this by yourself with a 3-inch spacer is not the easiest thing to do. Actually, before we get started, we will have to notch that U-strut for the brake line. So, let me get that. Alright. Alright, so it's hard to see. There's a brake line hole. I'm just going to cut straight right up from that flat slot right up there. And on this side, even with that one, just cut that, notch that out. Pretty much it. Get the hot piece of metal out of my foam mat might help. So, get the sweat off my brows here, and let me get this in here. My old man pad, knee saver. I'm working on cars and forklifts for almost 30 years. I don't have any knee problems yet, so not gonna. So we gotta watch that sensor. Watch your fingers, and there we go. Now, find out where. Yeah, go inside the car, see where we're lining up. So we'll see where we're not lining up. That's more accurate. So need to come down. I've got a lot of wet undercoating I'm dealing with too. So push it back that way. Okay, you're still recording? Yeah, actually, let me get you back up where you can see. Alright. Bag. Alright, then. Need to twist just a little bit. Getting pretty close. It's not going to take much to get this pot back in. I do got to get light. Shine some light from the top. Now, shine some light from the top, and folks should be able to see where the holes are. So what do we got going on? Man, that's still a hell of a twist. But maybe I didn't go far enough. Twist it by hand, it should be alright, but it's pretty far freaking off, that's for sure. There it went. Now, alright, we got a little twist there, not much. I think I'm okay with it. Undercoating all over my arms. Alright. Make sure this thing's recording. Alright, we got the 3 nuts started on the top. We got the studs pushed through. 3 nuts started. Now we're just going to try to see what we got here. Okay, so I'm going to need, we got a 3/8 extension. It fits in these holes pretty good once they're halfway lined up, and you can pull them too to line them up even better. Got a little bit of a punch. Make sure you guys can see this. Alright, so I think so. Down here on the bottom, we got alright, try to get that bolt in there. 3/8 extension. We'll actually center that pretty good. Feel around and see where it is. Get it centered enough to get your bolt in there. So we got just a hair right there, and out right there. What do we got here? Alright, so we're pretty much in there. Gotta be careful with this, like, so gotta be careful with that, because if you get that bolt too crooked, you're gonna just beat that in there and rip the threads off of it. So, and there, it is a hardened bolt, but we'll knock the bolt back a hair so you get the nut started. Now, but you can still, damage those threads and then try to get a nut back on there, especially the one that's squeezed between the axle and the knuckle is a pain in the ass. So you don't want to damage those threads. So this one's going on pretty good still. All right, now the top one. This is the pain where basically what I'm gonna have to do: take that jack out, run to the car, make sure it's on the jack stands good, and then put it underneath this drum, pick it up so I can get that lined back up. Grab the jack. Okay, so there we go. Back up on the edge, outer edge of the drum. Be careful, don't put too much pressure on it. You can break a drum, it is possible. Not easy, but it's possible. So now get the 3/8 extension. Too big. Grab your punch. See if we can pull this too. Now we're gonna have to try to hold that. And get this 3/8 extension on the opposite side of the bolt hole. Now we can just kind of pull it around until the bolt starts. Knock it in, and we're good to go. Get the nut started. Now, since we're already missing a clip, so we got the brake line knocked out of there. I'm just going to put it back in place, kind of set it back down inside that hole for now, and then we'll have to get new clips because this one's missing. The other side broke off and I took it off, so I gotta get new clips for it anyway. Now, the other thing we can do here, if we can get, that's pretty much it. Jack it up a little bit, and let me get my tighten up these nuts on the top real quick. I videoed of taking them off, so no big deal. Just tighten them up with this 3/8 impact. Nice and easy. Alright. Now they are locking nuts, so we don't have to worry too much about it. Tighten them so tight that they're going to fall off, you know. Just keep them afraid they're going to fall off. Don't over tighten your bolts, that's it. Just the main key. I'm going to turn my compressor on, it's going to make some noise. Actually, I guess I'm just going to go ahead and snug these up, end the video. It's going to get pretty noisy with that compressor, so pretty much that's it. We're done. We're back to where we were. Now, the only other thing we don't have is right here. We don't have this link hooked back up. I'm going to hook that up when we get to the ground. So once this thing's back on the ground, I'll shoot a quick video to show you the height on the rear. Alright, so here's the, I think the final product, but 3-inch lift spacers, no trailing arm bushings yet. That has to be done to bring that wheel back to the center of that wheel well. I'm going to have to either put some offset rims on this to clear that strut. We got the strut overhangs that tire right there. So again, you got to get wheel spacers, bring that wheel out to clear that tire, or I'm going to have to get offset rims that will bring this tire out to clear that, to put bigger tires on it, fill in this wheel well. But that is a 3-inch lift. So you can see the camber and the caster are way off. There's the camber. You see the top of the wheel hanging out. The subframe has to be dropped with the 3-inch lift. Alright, there's that one. You can definitely notice that one. Once again, trailing arm has to be spaced to bring that wheel back to center, and I gotta get some wheel spacers or offset rims. Obviously, putting bigger tires on this, fill these wheel wells. Front's not done yet. I'll try to get you a bigger picture here. Alright, so you see, I got a pretty good lift in the front already, but you see the definitely a difference in the back. So with the 3-inch, now there is going to be a 3-inch on the front too, so I'm gonna bring that front up, and then once I fill this thing in, then it should look pretty badass. So alright, I'm going to end the video here. I want to say thanks for watching, and I'll keep you updated.